and many of you might be like me, super logical, always been from a little girl. Like, when I was in high school, we took logic. Like, sequential 3 was, like, logic was the topic. And I was so in love because it just made sense finally. It was like, wow, someone understands me. If P, then Q. If Q, then P. Like, y'all should have seen me going crazy in high school. And that's just how my brain has always operated. However, now, if you know people that walk with God, if you walk with God, the one thing you're going to hear people say all the time is that God does not operate in logic. He does not operate in common sense. Okay? And so for people like me, right? So God gives us, like, God, like, no, I ask God, like, you're not logical. You don't operate in common sense. So, why do I have to? And the one thing that God said to me that was so profound, we need the common sense, we need the logic for operating in the world, right? That's something that we truly need. We need that to operate in the world. However, when it comes to working with God directly, one-on-one, He doesn't need our logic. He doesn't need our common sense. He doesn't need any of that. He's out here like, I'm good. I'm good on my end. What I need for you to do is, if you're going to believe me and you're going to trust me, that you do that. And that you allow me to come and be an active participant in your life so I can lead and guide you and navigate you to where I need you to be. But when you are such a logical person like myself and you operate that way every single day, when God tells you certain things, it's never going to make sense because you're trying to figure things out from your standpoint of how you process things, on your job, maneuvering through the world. But what ends up happening is that God starts to take over. He will take over. He will hijack your life. And you'll be sitting here saying to yourself, like, wait, what just happened? I thought I was in control. And God is like, you're not. I'm in control. Right now, I'm just using you so that you can navigate to do these things. So that is something that I think many of us, we have to remember, is that God is not operating from that type of space. God is operating from a supernatural space. Only He can do all things. He just can use us, or He can use other people, but at the end of the day, it's only God. And when we do what God needs us to do, then we're actually activating a new level of blessings. So there are 3, and this was something that came to me early, about 2 o'clock this morning. So a lot of us are waiting for blessings, and we're trying to figure out, like, is God listening to our blessings? But the problem is that you're trying to operate from a logical standpoint. And God is like, I can't do it that way. I'm going to do it the way that I know how to do it. So the first way that God can activate and give us blessings is through prayer, right? If we pray, what they say, if you ask, you shall receive. So when I pray, that is the level of blessings that can come to me. It can be small blessings. It can be big blessings. It's the power of prayer, because we're having a conversation with God and we're just like, hey, Lord, I want to talk to you. I believe in you and I know that you're going to work all things out. So that's absolutely perfect. I'll give you a perfect example of how that worked for me. These are small prayers where you're just like, I was on the line one day and I just simply said to God, it would be nice to have someone, buy my lunch today. And like literally in less than 2 minutes, the young lady in front of me turned around and was like, something that's, I'm being moved to pay for your lunch. And that was an instant blessing. So it was a prayer that I made that I said to God silently, and instantly God blessed me. The second way that our blessings can be released to us is through fasting. Now, last week I had a really great conversation with someone and we were talking about fasting. And, a lot of breakthrough comes through when we are fasting. We are able to, like, literally, we're depriving ourselves of something that we truly want, and we are now putting our time, we're focusing on, on God. We're building that, we're really establishing that covenant, and we're like going deeper. And I know for me, I'll just say, like, the whole 2016 to like 2018, full. Like every time I fast, breakthrough. Things was just popping. It was just happening. So how did that work for me as far as what did fasting do? Because again, I know some of you probably like, well, it's easy to say it, but you know, how have you used it? So for me, fasting, I remember when I was working at this place, it was crazy. Like I would get paid on Wednesdays, deposit my check. Because there was no direct deposit, I would deposit my check and I would not get my money until Monday because my bank would hold the money because the company had a history of bounce checks. And that was very frustrating because you're working and you're expecting to get your money every 2 weeks and, you know, pay your bills. And every 2 weeks, I'm sitting here holding up for another 4 days. And that became extremely frustrating for me. So I said, God, you got to get me out of here. And when you get me out of here, I need to go someplace that's going to put me in my purpose. And so the only way that I can do that was I had to fast. And I fast, and I literally fast for certain hours in a day. And when I came through, like 2 days of fasting result in me having 7 interviews for 1 week, 7 interviews. And by Wednesday, I already had 3 job offers. Like I had my pickings. So that was because that breakthrough and that blessing came because of fasting. Okay. So prayer, right? You want to be blessed. You need something from God. You go ahead and you pray. If prayer is not working, then it might just mean that you might really need to start fasting and start spending that extra time with God, focusing on what it is that he needs you to focus on. But the third thing that God said to me this morning, that was like, poof. The third thing, the third way that our blessings are released to us is through obedience. All right? The third way that our blessings are released to us is through obedience. Morning, the third way that blessings are released to us is through obedience. And what I mean by that is when God needs you to do something, right? Especially if you're looking for a blessing. If God needs you to do something, he needs you to do it. He doesn't need you to think about it. He doesn't need you to make sense of it. He doesn't need your logic. He doesn't need your common sense on it. He just needs you to do it and to trust him, because if he said that he's going to take care of you, he is going to. So when I say our blessings is attached to our obedience, I'm going to give you a perfect example of what happened to me in 2016. 2016, I was at my lowest, right? Ex had just moved out. I was at risk of losing my home, about to go into foreclosure. It was crazy. And this is the time that nobody wanted to hire me. Like every time I applied for a job, I was not getting calls back. I mean, whether it was for like the lowest pay to corporate CEO, well, I didn't apply for like CEO, but like VP, VP status. No one was hiring me, and I was so frustrated. And I was like, God, I just need a job. And I remember there was a job posting. I kept seeing this posting. And so this is where I say your logic and your common sense, it does not match up to God's. So as I'm a college professor, and I tell my students when I was teaching career services, I would tell them, if you see a job posting and it's like 3 weeks old, don't apply. You know, chances are they already hired someone. They have yet to take down the posting. If it's a job that you really, really, really want, then yes, put your resume in, see what happens. But if it's a job that you're like, don't. So this is what I told my students over the years. And that's what I was put into practice. So here I am, about to go into foreclosure. I need a job. And so I'm looking online and I'm looking for a job. So I'm looking and I see this job and it's like literally 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks old. And I'm like, I'm not applying to that. There was 2 reasons why I didn't apply to it. I didn't want to apply for the job. The first thing was because the job posting was over 3 weeks old. To me, they really hired somebody. The second reason why, because I was letting my pride and my ego get in the way, because what they were offering hourly rate was less than what I made when I started teaching back in 2010. So I'm like, I started teaching in 2010 at the college level and was making this, and I had this whole logical in my mind. If I did this, I'm not going to go down. And I mean, literally, I try to talk myself out of this blessing. And when I say every time I would open up Craigslist, because it was on Craigslist, God would say, apply. I would hear apply. apply. And I'm sitting here like, but God, it's only $20 an hour. Like, again, if you guys know me, I'm very transparent. My conversations with God are very entertaining. I was like, it's only $20 an hour. It's been posted 3 weeks ago. It's no way that they're still hiring someone. I'm not doing it. Kept seeing it, kept hearing it. Finally, I got tired of hearing it. I obeyed. And God said, okay. Literally less than 12 hours, I get a phone call. We would like for you to come in tomorrow for first round of interviews. Well, wait, huh? First round, wait. Less than 24 hours, less than 12 hours? You're calling me for an interview? All right, God, cool. I'm going to go. I'm going to see what they're talking about. There was another lady there, and she was riffing, and she's complaining it's only $20 an hour. I said, but again, this is where my logic, well, you apply for the job knowing it was $20 an hour. I mean, they were very clear about what they wanted, and I don't know why you came here expecting that was going to change. But I got her logic. See, the logic. Next day, they wanted me to come back for a second date. I woke up that morning, and when I say to get a notification from your bank that your account has an overdraft, it's like devastating. My mortgage company at the time tried to take a second payment. I just paid them. Why did you try to take a second payment like 3 days later? What the heck? So the few dollars that I did have in my account, I had no access to. None of it. And I'm sitting here like, so now the logical part of Tanisha is saying, I only have $2.75 because I legit had 50 cents, 2 quarters, and I had $2.25 on my Metro card. I kid you not. Anyone can go back because I know I told the story years ago. $2.75 for a one ride in New York City on the MTA is $2.75. So I had just enough money to go to the interview, but I didn't have enough money to come back. Catch that. I had enough money to go to the interview, but I didn't have enough money to come back, right? Now, the real problem came because my logic said, my mother always told me, you don't leave the house unless you have money to come back in, right? That's what most of us were raised with. We have that level of common sense. You don't go nowhere. Don't go on a date if you don't have money. Don't go on a trip if you don't have money. That's not how God operates. God is like, yeah, that sounds great, but let me tell you this. That's not going to always work, because if you're walking with me, you're going to have to trust me enough to know that if I tell you to go somewhere, then that I'm going to bring you back and you're going to come back safely. Woo, that was the hardest part of my life. And so one of my good friends, she called me like 5 o'clock in the morning. I get up early too. So she calls me. I'm like, literally, my mind is way down because I'm trying to figure out, how am I going to get to this interview? How am I going to get back from this interview without having to walk from Lower Manhattan to East Flatbush, Brooklyn, which is a walk. Not impossible, but it's a walk. How am I going to do this, God? And my friend is telling me something. She's telling me, she's talking. And then at the end, she was like, are you okay? And I'm like, and I don't like telling people my problems. I hate that. I was like, and I just told her what happened. And she was like, girl, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Like, she's all calm. And I'm like, well, God, I want to be calm like her, because I'm stressed. And so I got off the phone. She was like, I'm going to send you a few dollars through PayPal. I will never forget this. And she forgot about this. And I said, okay. So I'm sitting here waiting. I got to be at this place now at 9 o'clock. Again, my logic says do not leave your house unless you have enough money to get back home. I still only had $2.75 just to get to the job interview, but not to get back. So, on top of that, at the time, my phone was off, and I was only able to get that phone call. This is how I know when God works. My phone was off. The only way I was able to get that phone call because I was on Wi-Fi, and I have an iPhone, and she has an iPhone. We was able to iMessage. So that is the only reason why I was able to even get her phone call, was because of that. Catch that as well, because God is going to make sure that you're going to be in direct communication with the people that he needs you to be in direct communication with when he needs his purpose to be lived out. Not finished. Almost done, though. So I'm waiting for this money. Nothing is coming through. I keep hearing, just go. But God, I don't want to go because logic, go. But I don't want to go. Go. Then he said, fine. Since you don't want to just go, he gave me a homework assignment. He said, go on Facebook and release this message. Whatever the message was, I got clear instructions. You are not to mention what happened with your mortgage. You are not to mention your account is overdrawn. You are not to mention any of your problems. What? So you want me to be misinspiration and my account is at a negative what? Come on, Lord, you're challenging me right now. My faith, I don't know if I have this kind of faith today. But God was like, trust me. I went on that Facebook Live. Like I said, I don't remember what I said. I don't know what the message was. I put it out there. Whoever got it, that was my mentality. I'm being obedient. If it's for you, catch it. If it's not, catch it. Like, just catch it. Because he's telling me to say this for somebody. So it was like, go. So I went. I had to put all this trust. I'm going, I'm sitting here, I'm nervous. I go to the interview, it was a more demo. They wanted me to see how I interact with the students, with the participants, because it was a teaching position, all of the stuff. And at the end, they were like, we would like to offer you an opportunity, offer you the position. Yes, I took the position, even though it did pay less money. I had to get past that. God was like, don't worry, I got you. And then second thing, when I got to Starbucks, because I had to get on Wi-Fi, because again, my phone was off, so I had to go to Starbucks to get on Wi-Fi. And when I say that moment that I turned on Wi-Fi and everything, connected, I got a notification that my friend had sent me $200 through PayPal. Right? So at that point, sitting in Starbucks, I had $0 to my name. My blessing, 2 blessings came out of that. A job and this money that I needed instantly. And I didn't have to beg. I didn't have to borrow. I didn't have to cry me a river to everyone so somebody can help me. I just had to be obedient to what God sent me to do. There was an assignment that I had to fulfill that day in order for that blessing to be released. There was an assignment that I had to fulfill that day in order for my blessing to be released. So when people say, why would God tell you to do that? That doesn't make sense. You shouldn't go outside if you don't have money. It's not going to make sense to you. It's not going to make sense to anyone until you get into that relationship with God and you start hearing God for yourself. And when I tell you, you're going to start realizing that God doesn't operate the way that man does. God will turn things around. God will he will put you on the right person's heart, and you won't ever have to ask for anything. You're just going to be blessed. But you have to do the work. And the work can either come in praying, fasting, and now we can add obeying. And that's all that I want for all of us, because we all are out here praying for something. We're out here praying for big miracles. We're praying for small miracles. Some of you are looking for miracles of, how to pay your rent for May 1st. Some people are trying to figure out how to, pay off these car tickets because they keep getting tickets because whatever the reason is, because, or they're looking for their husband, their wife. Sometimes it's not about what is happening in the world. It's about what you're doing in that supernatural relationship with God. And when he starts to give you instructions like this, some of you might need to just pray a little bit more. Some of you might need to start fasting. And I'm not talking about Lent. I'm not talking about Ramadan. I'm talking about when God is like, fast today. Like that type of kind of fast. Like, oh, you want this? All right, I need you to fast right now. No corporate fast. Your pastor don't need to know. You don't need to go on Facebook. Just fast today for these hours. And I'm going to download and I'm going to give it to you. And then sometimes, and this is where I feel God has me, the only way I'm going to get my next blessings is if I continue to do the work that God is telling me to do. And I want to encourage someone to do the same thing, because there's something out there that we have to do. God is trusting you. He's trusting me to do these things. And the only way we're going to receive our next level of blessing is by being obedient. So I pray that you are obedient, whatever God is telling you to do, because I was obedient today to release this message, because I know that there's something more that God wants for me. There's something more that I want for myself. And obedience is going to be the key and the solution for me to receive that. So I hope that has encouraged you. I hope that has inspired you. And I just want to continue to encourage you to just do the great things that God needs for you to do and go out there and just be the best version of yourself, mind, body, and spirit. Have a great one. I am Tanisha Shanee.